Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Brawley City Council and Successor Agency to the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. Regular meeting for Tuesday, September 18th at 6 p.m. We can have roll call, please.
The record will reflect all members are present.
Councilmember Kelly? With the exception of Councilmember Kelly.
I'm sorry, I'm
You weren't
frustrated.
done.
I really am frustrated tonight, I'm sorry.
Go on, Janet.
Our invocation by Pastor Bob Feist, First Christian Church. Over here, please, sir.
Let's bow our heads, please. Most gracious, wonderful Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening and ask your blessing upon the City Council meeting. We ask you, Father, to give this City Council your wisdom, your discernment, their ability to be able to look at these matters with clarity of thought and understanding, to make right decisions for our city. We ask you, Father, to bless those police officers and firemen who serve diligently every day. Protect them, watch over them, and keep them. We ask you, Father, also to give this city a blessing. Bless this city with good righteousness. Bless this city with morality. Bless this city with a blessing that we would be able to be moved in a way that is pleasing to you. We ask you, Father, to just be faithful in your word, which you always are, that you have a way in the desert and rivers in the desert for us, Father. We thank you for these things. We praise you for these things. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
And next we'll have, thank you, Pastor. Next we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. If Sergeant Jesse Rodner would lead us in the pledge, please. Where's the end? Here you go.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Sergeant. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, but I would like to add two emergency items that are time sensitive, and they are both airport related. I'd like to add them to regular business. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion we approve the agenda, adding the two items that Mr. Nava mentioned, and
I have some things for the consent. Is that
Okay.
now?
Did you want to pull them?
Yes.
Or, okay. And there's some items that would like, Mayor Pro Tem Couchman would like to pull to regular business?
Item F needs to be pulled till October the 2nd. And item H and item I, I'd like to place those on the regular business agenda.
H and I.
H and I on regular business?
Okay. You want me to redo my motion?
Mr. Mayor, with respect to the adding items to the agenda, your
Yes.
minutes should reflect that, as you indicated, they're time sensitive. There's a need for an immediate action, and the need for the action arose after the agenda was posted.
As our attorney has stated, yes.
I need to redo my motion, then?
So rescind the motion, and he,
Well, your motion should include those findings, you know.
Yeah, but I think.
but he added, he wanted to
I
pull
added
some items.
others. Do we need to do, Dennis, do we need to do an emergency, vote on an emergency item and do the actual vote? Or do we just put it as a part of the agenda?
Well, the two items, the two actions you're suggesting require different votes.
Right,
For example, to add the items to the agenda, since there's less than 5 of you, it has to be unanimous amongst you to add the items. And we call them an emergency because they come up late, but technically under the Brown Act, an emergency is a public health and safety situation as distinguished from here where indeed it's time sensitive, so it's an emergency in that sense, but really it came up and it needs an
After the
immediate
agenda.
action.
You want to rescind?
So
Yeah.
that's kind of a long-winded answer. I think your question was, should you take separate actions? It's probably a good idea to take separate actions since they require different votes.
Thank you.
I'll rescind my motion so we can reapprove the agenda. And then I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda, adding the two emergency items, and then moving F to October the 2nd, H and I to regular business.
Is that good?
I second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public appearances, comments, not to exceed 4 minutes. This is a time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. Is there anyone here who would like to come before council and make a comment? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is a special presentation by Police Chief Mark Gilmore. It's a special pinning ceremony for Sergeant Jesse Rotner. Chief Gilmore.
Honorable Mayor, Council, it's a pleasure to be here before you this evening. City staff and especially the family of Jesse Rotner. Sarge, would you join me up here, please? Don't touch that yet.
He's got a gun.
Honorable Mayor, Council, and esteemed friends and family, we come here on a special celebration tonight in that we are going to make a promotion from the rank of agent, which is a senior officer, to the rank of sergeant. However, before we get into that detail, I would like to make special note that without the support of family and without those that stand behind the man we see here is Jesse Rotner, and the officer and the officer that he is and the leader that he's going to become, he would not be the man he is today. I know that Sergeant Rotner holds his family in a very high esteem. He's very dedicated and loyal. And today with him, for his direct family, we have his beautiful wife, Janelle, who is right here, and their son, Colton, and TJ, who's also Penelope, but TJ's here, and Mr. and Mrs. Rotner, his parents. I would like for Janelle, come on up, please.
Who likes to come to?
Janelle, for all the love and support that you give your husband as he performs his duties, on behalf of the department and the city of Brawley, we'd like you to have these flowers as a show of our gratitude for how you support him. And I know if Mama's not happy. So, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Since March of 2007, 5.5 years now, Officer Jesse Rotner has exhibited dedication, hard work, professionalism to the city of Brawley and the citizens that we serve. Today, Officer Rotner turns a very significant page in his life. The transition from officer to sergeant is lauded as one of the most significant and sometimes difficult transitions that an officer makes. In a one-day period, the new sergeant goes from being a peer officer to being the leader of that team. And the individual has to grapple with that transition and the fact that he is now the ultimate decision maker during his shift's time on the streets. And he finds himself in the position to ensure that legal ordinances are applied properly across a wide range of situations and enforcing policies and guidelines for all of the law enforcement duties that his team is responsible to. However, while this transition is tough and something that each of us has to come over that achieve this rank, the perseverance and the success that comes from that is extremely rewarding. And I can tell you from experience myself and from knowing many sergeants throughout my career that it's one of the most rewarding positions that an officer can serve in the police department. Officer-sergeant relationships are built on trust. For the new sergeant to instill a sense of trust in his team, he must demonstrate integrity, competence, consistency, loyalty, and openness. In Sergeant Jesse Rotner, I have seen uncompromised integrity. He is honest, truthful, and forthright, able to admit his shortcomings and hungry to better himself. In Sergeant Jesse Rotner, I have seen competence, whereas Sergeant Jesse Rotner possesses the required technical and interpersonal knowledge, and he has the ability to maintain composure and self-control under extreme situations and stress. In Sergeant Jesse Rotner, I have seen consistency. Sergeant Rotner is trustworthy, reliable, and predictable. He uses good judgment in situations consistent with his values and the mission and values of the City of Brawley and the Brawley Police Department. In Sergeant Jesse Rotner, I have seen loyalty. Sergeant Rotner, in the 5.5 years that I have known him, has proven loyal to his family, to this city, and to the citizens that he serves. He strives to keep the best interests of others in mind, and he stands strong in protecting those rights and the interests of others. And lastly, but certainly not least, I have seen in Sergeant Jesse Rotner an openness. In all of my personal and professional interactions with Sergeant Rotner, I have found him to be a person who provides full truth. I have found him to be a person that shares information openly and is able to communicate effectively with a wide variety of people. Sergeant Rotner is a credit to this city, to the Brawley Police Department, and his chosen profession, law enforcement. Therefore, it is my distinct pleasure to promote Sergeant Jesse Rotner to the rank of sergeant.
No poking, Chief.
Sergeant Jesse Rotner, congratulations.
Sergeant Rotner, we would like to congratulate you on behalf of the city. I know we're all very proud of you. I know your family's sitting there, and they're very proud of you. And your colleagues are here to celebrate this day with you. I know it's a special occasion for everyone. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to say a few words if you'd like here. And we congratulate you very much.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank my family above all else. My family means the world to me, the absolute world to me, and everything in my life revolves around them. The way my head functions, everything, nothing is right without having a right mindset, and that comes from your family and the support of your family. So I'd like to thank my wife, my children, my family, and all their support. I'd like to thank my agency and my city. Nothing but supportive, and I can't thank them enough for that support. My administration, my chief, I've always felt completely supported, and with that support, I feel as though I can become the best that I can be. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Robert.
Let's get a picture. Chief? Balance up.
How about the wife?
Congratulations. You gotta get the wife in here. Without her. Doesn't work. And the family.
Come on.
Get in here.
Where do we go?
Smile.
Take one step here. Right there. Thank you. Congratulations.
Squeeze down.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just real quickly, I represent the Brawley Public Safety Committee, and on behalf of the committee, it is definitely our sincerest congratulations to the new sergeant. So I know you're still sitting here. I'm going to ask you to stand up one more time if we can shake your hands.
Congratulations again. I'm glad that we were able to bring this to our city council meeting, and I hope that in the future we continue this practice, Chief. I think it's a special occasion for the sergeant here and for his family, and it's a special occasion for us as well, and we should continue this practice. Whenever there is a promotion within the city, we should recognize our talent and recognize the work that people put in. So congratulations again, and the best of luck at your new position, and I know it's going to be a challenge for you, but I know you're going to do very well. We're going to move forward with a presentation from, is it Yolanda Stokes? Yolanda Stokes with the SBA. I didn't realize no one was here to see us, Sergeant Rutner. You brought everybody with you. They cleared the room, huh?
Maybe they won't recognize it.
Yeah, Chief, you got to stick around. Sorry. I'm on. Wow, look at that. So, Ms. Stokes with the SBA.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Yolanda Stokes, for all of you who have not met me. Yolanda Stokes with the SBA Office of Disaster Assistance. I'm based out of Sacramento, California. And I want to first thank Rosanna for opening up the facility for us to facilitate the Disaster Loan Outreach Center. It's a beautiful facility, and everyone's been very, very welcoming to us, and thank you for that. SBA is in town as a result of the swarm of earthquakes that Brawley experienced in August, and we're here to provide low-interest disaster loans. And we don't take for granted that everyone knows about SBA, because most people, just by virtue of the name, Small Business Administration, think that we're only here to assist businesses. SBA is here to provide assistance to our homeowners, renters, businesses, small ag companies, as well as our nonprofits. We can provide up to $200,000 to our homeowners, plus an additional $40,000 for personal property. So we're here to assist with physical damages as well as replacement of the personal property. And for our business owners, we can provide access to capital for their working capital needs, as well as damages that they sustain to the physical buildings. We are expected to be in town through September 27th to assist our applicants with any questions or completion of the application process. We can expedite the process if they come into the office, because we can actually send the applications into our processing center. They do have several ways to apply. If they don't wish to come into the center, they can apply online at sba.gov/ELA through an electronic application process, or they can contact our customer service department at 1-800-659-2955 to obtain an application or have it mailed out to them. We do prefer for our applicants that can, if they could come into the office, because it takes out some of the takes away some of the mystery about what the program represents. The deadline, application deadline for physical damages is November 13th of this year, and for my economic injury loans, the deadline is June 14th of next year. The interest rates on the loans, on the home loans, is 1.68%. Business loans is at 4%, and the nonprofit organizations are at 3%. There's also several components that may assist some of the borrowers. Some may think about relocation. SBA can also help with relocation. We can also help with refinance. So those are some particulars that not everyone knows about the SBA program, so we want to get the word out. We do have 2 customer service representatives here on staff that will be on site through the 27th. That's Chris Maggio and Joe Morez. Both are Spanish-speaking, so that we can help our Spanish-speaking community out. And I've been very fortunate the last couple of days to meet some very wonderful people in the community who have helped to get the word out via our media outlets, some of our chambers, our small business development centers, our economic development centers are very helpful in getting the word out via e-blasts and other mechanisms. So we welcome, I welcome any questions that you may have about the program. I'll be available throughout the presentation or throughout your meeting tonight. And I thank you.
Thank you very much for coming out here. Questions from council?
I do.
I have a few questions. Go ahead.
Where are you located, Yolanda?
Yeah, we're right here in the center, yes. And we're here from Monday through Friday from 8 through 5.
What are some of the questions that business owners have that you've seen? What are the types of questions that they have?
Most of them want to know how much we can help, if a loan is too small, and really, we help businesses of all sizes. We help the mom and pop shops to the larger corporations. So we will help you if you've sustained losses of $1,500 to $150,000. So we are here to help our businesses of all sizes.
And I know there has been several businesses that have had losses in those lower levels, and so I'll make sure, and I know the rest of council will make sure that we get the word out there.
Thank you.
To spread the word. I know the media's here as well. Maybe they can help spread that message to get some people in here to
Yes,
visit
thank
you
you.
face to face. So we
Thank you very
appreciate your time, Mr. Stokes.
Any other
And-
questions?
Any other questions?
No, I would just like to say thank you to Rosanna for reaching out, and for you, Mrs. Stokes, for being here to help our community. Believe me, the residents and the business that suffered some of these damages really appreciate you guys' services. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, we're going to move on to, who's the other presentation? Is there another one? No? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have moved item F to a further date, item H and I to regular business. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion to approve. There is a second. All of those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, we'll start with item H from consent that's been moved to regular business.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members. Yasmin Arellano, Public Works Director. The City of Brawley applied for funding from the Border Environment Cooperation Commission from BEC. Can you guys hear me clearly? Yes? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. And North American Development Bank under the Community Assistance Program during February of this year. We were very lucky, one of the 11 projects funded for the rehabilitation of lift station number 2, emergency power for lift station number 2, and emergency power for lift station number 1. And that amount of the grant was $500,000. It was reported to council earlier this year that there was no local match for this grant. Unfortunately, the Community Assistance Program guidelines were not out, and then we were notified later that it had a 10% local match required in the amount of $50,000. We're here tonight to ask council to accept this grant and also to allow for a 10% local match.
Councilmember Couchman, Mayor Pro Tem Couchman, do you have some questions?
And the local match will come from what source?
From the wastewater collection enterprise fund this fiscal year budget.
Well, Jasmine, I want to say congratulations and a good job for procuring this grant, and the $50,000 match, I think, is minimum for what that lift station means to the city. So thank you guys for doing a good job, and because that lift station is in poor condition.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank my staff.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions from council? This item? Is there a motion to approve?
I move we accept the grant and commit the 10% match.
And I second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll be on to item I from consent that's been placed in regular business. It's authorized payment to the California Department of Transportation for betterments to the city, water and sewer improvements in the vicinity of State Highway 111.
Yeah, throughout the construction of the Brawley Bypass Phase 2, the city did not have prior rights for water, for the any types of changes or betterments. The city was responsible for anything to do with the water distribution system, and then Caltrans was responsible for the relocation of the wastewater collection improvements. Only the city was responsible to pay for the betterment. As part of the water responsibility for the city was the installation of approximately 350 linear feet of an 18-inch water line under the freeway in the vicinity of Slider Road. It's right there by National Beef. Also, the installation of 26 linear feet of a water service for future use. This would be the parcels that are directly north, or actually comprised between the bridge and the golf course. And also to upsize 575 linear feet of 6-inch water line into 12-inch water line along Shank Road. And also a restocking fee of unused 2,900 linear feet of 12-inch water line. In addition, for the sewer system, the installation of approximately 1,400 linear feet of a 21-inch sewer line. This is a casing that it is at the intersection of Best Road and the bypass for future use. And also the installation of 590 linear foot of 8-inch sewer line east of all Highway 111 for all the relocation that happened and connection of the future parcels in that area. The total for water is $96,164, and the total for sewer is $220,126 with 95 cents. Total payment requested by Caltrans is $316,291.
So this is the area that we're taking over, is that correct?
Correct.
And that is part of that responsibility, in that we're paying California Department of Transportation this dollar figure in order to make those improvements, is that?
That is correct, sir.
Same question. Where's the source of funding for this?
Water and wastewater enterprise funds.
And these are budgeted items.
Councilmember Campbell?
And again, I commend staff, because I think it's really important to make sure that we cross the Ts and dot the Is for future growth, because once that bypass goes in and businesses start to incorporate in that area, we need to make sure that infrastructure is there. So you guys have taken the time to foresee that. So thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you.
It's a desire of council on this item.
I move that we authorize the payment to the California Department of Transportation in the amount of $316,291.
I second that motion.
There's a motion to approve. There's a second to that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is regular business item A. Approve amendment number 2 in the amount of $154,000 to contract with Lee & Rowe, Inc. for additional extended services associated with the wastewater treatment plant improvements.
Yeah, the city and Lee & Rowe are signatories to a contract where the consultant, Lee & Rowe, it's to provide professional engineering services for the design, construction management, and inspection services for the improvement project at the wastewater treatment plant. The improvement project, certain portions of the new constructed improvements were commissioned earlier to enable compliance with the city's discharge NPDES permit and minimize additional violations and mandatory minimum penalties from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. The wastewater treatment plant improvements have achieved completion up to this date, and only a few items of work remain, such as ARA compliance. And actually today we were reviewing documentation to issue notice of completion. The additional fee proposal includes the request for compensation for extended construction support services for the period of May 10th of this year through final acceptance, and also a proposal for extended engineering services for ongoing support for the facility after final acceptance. Due to impacts by existing large users in the city, the project has extended nearly 160 working days beyond its original anticipated completion date. And Lee and Rowe has worked diligently to minimize project cost in light of the project delays. Inspection time has been carefully monitored, as well as the time spent by the resident engineer to minimize overall cost and extend the project budget as far as possible. This proposal will also includes a detailed scope of work for recommended additional services not covered in the original scope of work, such as the operations assistance, operator training, process optimization, and electronic data assistance for the biolac, solar thermal dryer, and centrifuge systems, the setup and the training of automated controls for the equipment, assistance with the development of an asset management program for the wastewater treatment plant, and warranty coordination and follow-up. It is recommended to approve a $154,057 amendment to the contract to extend their services to June 30th of 2013. And Mr. Dave Bacto, Lee and Rowe project manager, is here to answer any specific questions associated with this project that council may have.
I think my question is, why are we paying $154,000? I mean, that's an awful lot of money. Now, you explained a few things, but then there's additional services for a detailed scope of work. That's the second amendment. Is there any comment from our city manager with respect to this regular business item?
We have been anticipating that this amendment would be coming forward for some time, and we regret the delay from May 25th to current for presenting those changes to you. As described by the city engineer, Lee and Rowe has incurred an additional $40,000 that they basically carried as a balance as we were waiting for a contract amendment to be prepared by their contract staff. So the timing isn't so great, but the quality of what they've delivered is a certainty, and we have really needed the additional technical assistance to optimize the facility's capabilities. We continue to have challenges. I don't want to under characterize that situation. It's not so much the technology that's in place, but some of the difficulties we have in addressing some of our critical flows, and you'll be learning a little bit more about that this evening in closed session. But the topic that is before you tonight is for additional work that was not contemplated in the original scope.
No, I respect the fact that Mr. Navarre Mayor has, and as he should, has concerns about funds that's being paid out. But I can sit here and say again, I've said it in the past, that I've had the pleasure of traveling to Washington and Sacramento with Lee and Rowe and Dave, and they have stood by their city and made sure that this plant was put in place and on time, and to make sure that that $10 million forgivable was still there. And I think Lee and Rowe has done a really good job protecting this city. And again, I've said it before, and I know Dave's probably here somewhere. I appreciate all you guys' loyalty and honesty in working with our staff and make sure things are in place.
If they'd like to come up, I'd appreciate that.
Sure.
I do have maybe just a statement.
Mayor Pro Tem Couchman has a comment.
I believe that we're going to continue to incur costs on our wastewater plant for a variety of different reasons. I don't really want to get into those. I know we have several large businesses that impact our plant, and I think that we're going to continue to incur these costs. My only concern is getting these somewhat under control, making sure that we have this amount of money budgeted so that we don't go into our reserves, because as you know, our reserves has been an ongoing issue. We've tried to reduce those down quite a bit, but I still believe that we need to take whatever action we need to get these kind of charges under control. And each given year know what we're going to encounter, or at least anticipate some of what we're going to encounter, because I think we are going to continue to incur these types of costs. I think that what we've been doing so far has been good in the sense of what we've got accomplished and what we're trying to do right now, but I think it's something that we have to just keep working on. It seems like an ongoing cost factor for the city.
Any comments you'd like to add?
Well, I'd just like to say that at Lee and Rowe, and especially me personally, I'm always very cognizant of the kind of financial stress that all cities have been going, and other government entities have been going through at this time, and especially here in the Imperial Valley. I do my best to try to offer these services at as a cost-efficient rate that we possibly can. I think we've included some items in here, such as a biosolids management plan, that if you were to go on the open market, you would probably pay at least twice as much for that. So we view the City of Brawley as a very valuable client, and we also are absolutely committed to giving you the best service that we can for the money. And also, we view this treatment plant as a really important for the city, important for the valley to have really a very successful project. And some of the extended services that we've included are designed so that not only does the plant work well today and in the next couple of months, but that by the time we complete this work, that the plant is in a position to be well operated and maintained far into the future.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Mayor. One other thing I'd just like to say is that I believe that we also need to keep in mind that those that create issues for our plant need to ultimately cover the cost of those issues. And so I think that's something that we'll be looking at for the future, too. I think in some cases they certainly do, and I think in some cases they may not. Other than the norm, anything that occurs out of the norm, I would like to see us take great effort, and I think we do, to attempt to get those individuals or agencies that impact our plant to cover the cost of any increased costs that we may see that are above the norm for our plant. So I would encourage us to keep an eye on that, review this on a periodic basis, and probably look at this on a quarterly basis just to ensure where we're at with cost, and so that we're not exceeding the cost that we have budgeted. So that's all I have to say.
Any other comments? It's a desire of council.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I move to approve amendment number 2 in the amount of $154,057 to contract with Lee and Rowe.
I second that motion.
There's a motion, and there's a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Master Plan of Water presentation by Kurt Edwards.
Well, I was going to introduce them. I'll distribute the PowerPoint. Samas has done a great job. We're going on the completion of our water master plan. They're still working. We still have probably a couple of months remaining to finish up our wastewater master plan. They've done a great job. I'm really excited to have documents to plan and move forward with the city. So, Kurt Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor and the City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk to you about the Water Master Plan update. As a matter of fact, we just delivered it to city staff today, and after we did a 50% and a 90% review, this is the final report. Whoops, wrong button. Oops. There we go. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the system. I'm not going to get too engineering or technical, but there's some basics that we have to cover here for how we got to where we are today. We took another look at water system criteria because it's changed drastically since 1999, since the last water and wastewater master plan was provided. We're looking at water demands. We're going to do computer modeling. We have done computer modeling. We're looking at your raw water capacities, your treatment plant capacities, and then we've developed a capital improvement program. I think this is all tying into all the discussions that have been going on here tonight about your infrastructure. Certainly the earthquake damage has caused a lot of concern about the water system here. This is very timely. Hopefully that our grants people can pay attention to this and give us some money. Obviously, this is your sphere of, we worked with the city planning department, with Gordon and the planning department on the future land use and the future growth areas for the city of Brawley, and here's the difference between the sphere of influence and the current city limits. This is your current land use map, which is taken directly from the general plan, which we used as a basis for the existing system and also for the future. There should not be any significant changes in land use throughout in the next 30 years, well, it's 18 years or so. Our ultimate planning year is the year 2030. Here's a summary of the land use. I won't go into everything there. Total sphere of influence is about 5,400 acres. Currently, the existing developed area is a little less than 3,000. So you're looking at to develop almost double the area, not quite double the area, over the next 18 years. And that's just divided by residential, commercial, public facilities, which include parks and public buildings and industrial. We spent quite a bit of time looking at what is developed and what isn't developed in the city, because we had to separate and calibrate these systems. It's something that wasn't done back in 1999. So we took out all the land uses that are currently undeveloped so we could compare the existing water treatment plant flow rates and the meter data to establish criteria for providing a good water system model in the future. We also looked at, there are a number of developments, as you're well aware, that got started and never were finished or are only partially finished. Those show up as existing, but they're not really existing because nobody lives there yet. They also had some facilities like a 3 million gallon water tank that was supposed to get built that isn't built. So there are a lot of impacts to your system as it is today, and we kind of compared those and incorporated those into our recommendations. And these are the other future projects, which are the expansion of some of the existing projects that are currently stalled. They're heading off into the Lucky Ranch area, off to the east, the developments off to the south, and there's a few infill projects that we're planning for also. There are also partially developed projects which are shown in the lighter color. I'm colorblind, so you have to forgive me. I don't know what those are. And we took the future planning data. Again, this is from the general plan, so there was no sense in recreating all that. A lot of planners had dealt with this before, and basically the population's going to go from around, I don't know what, it's the study says it's, the census says it's about 25,000 in 2010 up to 60,000, so it's going to more than double. And the population per dwelling unit is slightly affected, but it's not really significant. And here's the 2030 land use by land use category. Over half, or about half of it's going to be residential. The rest is going to be between commercial, public, and industrial. The land use, well, I'll go on the next slide. Then we also did an intermediate planning year of 2020, which we just basically, since there was no planning data for that year, we just took half the difference between the existing and 2030. So we could kind of time your, that was the purpose of that, was to time your capital improvements. So you need to think ahead and long enough so that you can make some of these improvements to your water system, like Yasmin was just recommending for the Caltrans extensions. You need to know what's going on in those areas in the future. So we looked at the water system. I know it's a miserable slide. There'll be big fold-outs you can stick up on the wall when they come in. But that's basically our existing water system throughout the city. The water treatment plant is on the lower left. It includes 2 3 million gallon water storage tanks and a pump station. And you have another 3 million gallons water storage tank and pump station up by the airport. Historically, in '99, you had a lot of water problems, but one of the recommendations we had was constructing the new 24-inch system down Malin Street, and that increased water pressures by 20 psi at least all throughout that area, and helped alleviate a lot of the water pressure problems. They took, somewhere after our report in 1999, they took the Hinojosa tank out of service because it wasn't safe and it was leaking, and that caused a great deal of pressure problems in that side of town. These are some of the existing pipeline lengths, and I'd like to highlight the cast iron pipe, which could be upwards to 100 years old in this city. Most of your water breaks during the earthquake, and most of your water breaks going on right now are in cast iron pipes, so it's a great maintenance problem for the city and expense. So you have 26 miles of cast iron pipe that need to be replaced. Nobody's using cast iron pipe. It's an old pipe. It corrodes very easily. It's highly corrosive here in Brawley. I mean, that's a big cost to get rid of that, but that's going to be an improvement you need to protect yourself in the future. Ductile iron pipe is a newer type of cast iron pipe, but you don't have a lot of that. Asbestos cement, I think you had at least one asbestos cement pipe break during the earthquake swarm. Typically, you don't go out replacing those. They have a pretty long life, but they are a little bit fragile. And then polyvinyl chloride, or PVC pipe, is the pipe of choice these days. And you have about 100 miles of pipeline right now. You also have a lot of small diameter pipe. This is the lengths by diameter. You have 2, 3, 4, 6-inch pipe. What we found when we did our hydraulic models was that most of these areas served by that small diameter pipe are inadequate to meet fire flows. They're also inadequate to meet pressure demands. So as you'll see, you got over 500, well, it's about your 100 miles of pipe total. Treated water storage, as I indicated, we have at the water treatment plant, we got 6 million gallons of storage, and the airport tank has 3 million gallon storage on Eastern and River, and your Enohosa tank didn't have a lot of storage anyhow. What we found has happened since 1999 is that the water consumption has dropped. We feel it's been because of the metering program that the city's implemented. Like it or not, the people just don't like paying big water bills when they don't have to, because it also saves on their sewer bills. And because we almost didn't, the last time we were funded to do the water study, the water demands were so high they didn't want to fund it because it's not normal. They were abnormally high. So we lowered these down to what's considered a more normal per capita usage for water. And as you can see, the flows have dropped down to about an average of 7.53 over the 2009-2010 record year. And then we calibrated this whole system by coming up with water demand factors by land use. We could look at the metering data for the residential areas. We could compare that with water treatment plant records for the day, for peak hour, for those sorts of things. And we made adjustments to the gallons per day, per acre, for all these categories up there that are listed there to get to the average water demand per day. Then we took all this model, all this data, and put it into computer models, which I won't get into all. I don't even understand half of that, what's going on anymore. But it's basically, we looked at existing peak hour for existing 2020 and 2030 dates. We also looked at fire flows. This is a node map showing deficient pipelines and pressure nodes. Again, I'm colorblind, so it means absolutely nothing to me. But there's a graph in the upper left-hand corner that shows the red lines are ones that, the red nodes are the ones that have deficient pressures. And there's a number of red pipelines that have high velocities, which indicate they're undersized. We also looked at fire flows. The city routinely does their own fire flow tests. We incorporated that into the report. These are typical fire flow requirements that you need for various developments. Obviously, the more important or the larger the facilities, the gallons per minute goes up, and the duration for the fire flow requirement goes up. And here's a fire flow nodal map that shows good, bad, and in between borderline fire flow requirements. The ones that actually have gallons per minute number on them, that's the available fire flow. So look, the northerly node up way up north there by the river, it's only got 100, and I think it's 191. I can't really read it from here, but you can't fight any fires with that. So when we developed the capital improvement program, we looked at these deficient conditions for pressure and fire flow as the initial recommendations. We also developed new peaking factors. These were also based on, we looked at other communities, El Centro, in the Imperial Valley to determine what types of peaking factors we're thinking about so that we knew what these future demands are going to be. And then we divided it back up by land use for the calibration purposes, and to get, if you look at the bottom right corner, it's the 2030 average day water demand of 14.278 million gallons per day on your 15 million gallon per day water treatment plant. So there's going to be clear impacts to the treatment plant, water storage, and your clear water storage in the next 10 to 15 years. So here's the additional raw water storage that you need, and as was pointed out, since you lost your raw water supply from IID, this unfortunately it was a short period of time. IID recommends 6 days of average day demand. So right now you are 9 million gallons short of that requirement. And so every time you add a development, that number just keeps going up. This might be an opportunity, as Council Member Couchman was alluding to ask these developers and the new industries as they move in to set aside some funds to help offset the cost of these. And then in 2030, and then you can see that it just keeps going up to about 50 million gallons needed. Same with treated water storage. There's a current need for 7 million gallons. There were supposed to be 3 of that placed by the La Paloma tank, which didn't get built. So you're definitely at a shortage, and it's going to get up to around 20 million gallons short by 2030. Water treatment plant. I talked to Ruben about this. He said he can run that fairly efficiently, but with the current development, 2030, we're at 14.3. Probably by the time it gets to be about 12 MGD average, you should be start to thinking about how we're going to improve the operation. Ruben seems to think that there's operational things we can do to increase, there'll be technical things you can do to increase the capacity before you actually have to build, concrete structures and tanks and things like that. So it's going to be close in the future about the treatment plant capacity upgrades. But you need to start looking at by around 2020, 2012. I think that's something the state is actually going to pay attention to as you get in excess of 80% of your capacity. And then lastly, this is our pipe replacement upgrade table. As you can see, we've eliminated all the 2, 3, and 4-inch pipes, replaced them with 8, 10, and 12-inch pipes for the most part. Ultimately, you'll have 129 miles of pipeline. Most of that extra 29 miles will likely be delivered or constructed as part of development, so that won't be a capital cost for the city. This is what the capital costs for the city are going to be. So we've divided these into fire flow, the FF numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you show where the fire flows are. And the cost of replacing the pipes with mostly 12-inch pipe. Those fire flows account for about $3 million, $3.5 million, sorry. And you have an immediate need for that. And then we looked at the cast iron pipe replacement program, of which you have 126,700 feet of pipe, the cast iron pipe. Well, probably a little less today since some of it was replaced after the earthquake. But that represents about almost $30 million worth of work. And most cities can't afford that. I know even cities like the city of San Diego, they only do like 5,000 feet a year. That's all they can afford to do with their replacement program. And eventually it's got to get done. And then there's a small amount in there for whatever was left over in the 4-inch diameter or less pipe. We threw in the 2 water storage tanks. One you're still owed by the La Paloma development, so that's probably not a city cost. You'll have to figure out who you can get to build a 4 million gallon tank somewhere in northern Brawley. And there's the cost of the 9 million gallon raw water pond. So some of that's city money, some of it's other money, but or developer money. So that's pretty much your existing capital improvement program. And then, of course, there's the future improvements, which, again, will probably be mostly built by development, except for maybe a share of the raw water ponds will have to be shared by the city. That's a total of about $85 million. Of course, there are a number of funding sources. I think, like El Central, they just did a few years ago, they did a bonding effort, which is paid for by water rates, water sewer rates, incremental water sewer rates for covering the debt service. There are other places. The city staff's really good at getting loans from Beck and from other areas. If they start having more problems with the cast iron pipe and the state health department raises its eyebrows, there might be state revolving fund money available that maybe with these earthquake damages, you can start making a case that we have a fragile system and it's vulnerable, and we could use some state grants to help fund these situations. And that's about it. Any questions?
Any questions from council? Comments?
No.
Yeah, a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
54 million? Questions from our city manager?
No questions, just a quick comment that this is one portion of our overall master plan that will be coming to the council. Eventually, you will be adopting the overall master plan, but tonight's intention was to give you a preview of this portion of the report and identify kind of the big picture of where the city is headed from the direction of our water distribution system.
Mr. Edwards, we appreciate the information. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is informational item, building permits for August 2012 by our building official, Francisco Soto.
Actually, you have the two resolutions.
Well, okay. That's right. Rosanna? The two resolutions on regular business?
Yes, that's what I
So
was
we don't
asking.
want to go to informational yet.
So we're moving back, I'm sorry. Going back to the items that were added to regular business.
Right.
And is there any order to these, or?
We can take them in either order. One is a little bit less information than the other. You have been briefed on the successful award of approximately $3.7 million for improvements to the Brawley Municipal Airport. There's a 10% local match that's associated with this work. We were very excited to be successful in the award. We anticipated only receiving a much lesser portion for this first phase of engineering and a minor portion of construction. So we were quite delighted to receive notification a couple of weeks ago about the $3.666095 million in grant award.
Very ominous, that number there.
I wonder.
The challenge we encountered was because we were very ready to do the project as a state, the condition of readiness we were in, there was outreach to us by the FAA as late as yesterday to get documents immediately executed because they'd like to see the funds put to work. So the first item to consider is actually the heavier package. It's authorizing the acceptance of an allocation of funds and execution of the grant agreement by the city manager with the FAA for the rehab of the southeast apron and associated improvements at the Brawley Airport. And you've got two attachments.
Mm-hmm.
They are resolution and the grant agreement.
Are there any questions?
I guess I have a question. On the 10% local match, same thing I always ask is, where are we coming up with that money from?
It is out of our airport fund, and there are funds available to cover the match requirement.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? I make a motion to to approve the resolution authorizing the acceptance and allocation of funds and execution of grant agreement by the city manager with the Federal Aviation Administration for the rehabilitation of the Southeast Apron and associated improvements at the Brawley Municipal Airport.
I second that motion.
There's a motion to approve. There's a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item.
Okay, the next item is intended to be a blanket resolution that addresses documents that need to be executed in connection with grant awards. So it's so that we have kind of a fail-safe in place in instances like this when we receive a grant award that I can actually, I have the authority as the city manager to execute the documents.
Make a motion to approve the resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, authorizing the city manager or his/her designee to execute all funding agreements, amendments, and other required documentation with the Federal Aviation Administration.
I second that motion.
There's a motion to approve. There's a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we will move on to the next item. That is the informational item for building permits.
And Mr. Mayor and Council, this is simply an information item just to make you aware of the construction activity that's been permitted within city limits within a 30-day window snapshot. So no action to be taken, just to show you what's going on from the building department point of view, and often other departments as well that are participants in the review of building improvement plans.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'll ask the question just to make sure. Is this a matter of public record, so this can go out to the public? They can look at this if they wish to? Okay, I thought that was the thing, but I wanted to ask it. Okay.
It's good information. Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you, Francisco.
Next item on the agenda is council member reports. We'll begin with council member Miranda.
I just want to thank Chief Gilmore and our fire chief. Got a lot of good comments. I was there when both of the fires. Unfortunately, we lost Superior Furniture and 1330, I believe, 8th Street. Both of you fighting as a team out there for the cause. Fires were quickly contained. The safety of the people driving by, Chief Gomer, I thank you for that, both the fire and the police department. That's all I have to report, Mayor Nava.
Thank you, Councilmember Miranda. Councilmember Campbell.
I want to add a couple of things. I want to thank Rosanna for having Manuel Perez and his staff in here a week or so ago to speak with the city and to see what kind of relief that Sacramento could help us with our residents due to the earthquakes and some of the things that's went on. And I was glad to see him out, him and his staff, to tour our city and to kind of see for himself what we went through. So, Rosanna, I thank you for setting that up. That was a pleasant meeting. And then I would like to ask if this council does not have any objections, I would like for the city to present Congressman Bob Filner with a plaque from the city on Friday, September the 28th. They're doing a recognition for the congressman here at the Ryerson Center, I believe. And I think McGill's got tickets for that event. I've asked him to hold me a couple, so. But I think it would be a good idea for us to do that. Mr. Filner has done a lot of good things for our city and our community. He's been very visible out here in our area, so I think it would be a good idea for us to do that. And if there's no objections from the council, I'd like to have our city manager take care of that.
Any objection from the council members? I think that's appropriate. Sure. Any other comments?
That's all I have. Thank you guys very much. And again, thanks staff, and I ask that God continue to bless you and your families. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Campbell. Mayor Pro Tem Couchman.
Yes, a few things. I did attend the Hidalgo Society dinner drawing for their building fund this weekend. It wasn't a lot of people there. I think there were some other events in Calexico, but they did draw quite a few people, and it was a nice event. I also went to League of Cities on the weekend of the 5th through the 7th. Very eye-opening for me. It was a pretty good session. I think I believe I was the only representative from Brawley that attended. However, there were other people from all the other cities, or most of the other cities in the valley there. I did get to meet some interesting people there from the other cities, talk with them about some of their issues. I did also talk to the lady, Western City Magazine, about our issues with trailers and earthquakes. And I think they're going to probably, maybe in the future, do an article on that. And I think we could bring some things to bear to, if we can do some preventive measures, I think we wouldn't have as much problem with the fact of people becoming homeless because of earthquakes, especially with our trailer park systems here. So I think we need some work to do there. I think we need to look at a lot of different issues there about securing those trailers better in the trailer parks that we have. I was very impressed with the League of Cities, and I enjoyed the trip to San Diego. But okay, also on that, a couple different things. One, I think we've experienced a lot of things in the last month or so. We've experienced swarms of earthquakes, the fire on Main Street, the fire at the housing over here. And I think that one of the things that I notice is I don't believe that any other city in the valley or maybe any other place handles it better than we do with our staff. I want to commend all the staff because I've been there at almost all of those events. I've seen what happens. And I would like to certainly commend the police, the fire, but every one of our staff people because they're there, they're helpful. I've gotten a lot of compliments from the public. I think that's very, very important. I've received compliments about our city manager and her handling of Mrs. Miller and the things that went on during that fire there. I also think Rosanna was responsible for the quickness of the action of getting that cleared out and getting some of that street back to normal, at least as normal as it can be under the circumstances. And I've received compliments on that. And so I just want everybody to know how much I appreciate that and how well we do a job when we do it here as a team. And I think we all work together to try to get through these crises. And I think we do a very, very good job. And I just wanted to say that. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Couchman. And I would just like to thank staff for all of their work during the past few disasters that we've had within the city. I know it's been a lot of work for all the departments, and not just for police and fire, but for everyone. And so I know it's been really challenging, and I know we wish the best for Mary Miller losing her business and the jobs that she provided to those people. That's a tough situation to be in. So, you can imagine having a job and a place of employment for years, and the very next day it's gone entirely. And so it's sad to see that it's a downtown structure that's been there for so many years, at least as long as I've been alive, and now that it's gone in one day is tragic for everybody. So, I feel for Mary Miller, and I wish her the best, and hopefully in the near future, I'm just getting a little bit of history. I worked with Mary for several years as volunteers on the Main Street Association, and she has contributed so much of her time, her heart, her effort, her money to the city, and so it's really sad to see that something so tragic happens to anybody, but especially seeing that she's so committed to the city really makes me sad to see that she's going through that tough time like that. She sponsored so many events and provided so many items to nonprofit organizations, to different associations, to different chamber events and things of that nature. And, she really never asked anything in return. She's always giving. And so I was able to work with her for several years. It's always been a pleasure to work with her. And I'm really sad to see that her business is burned. But it goes to show that the city comes together. I know that she got a lot of support from people, and she's continuing to receive a lot of support. And I just wish her the best. And, I hope that we can all support each other in times of crisis. I know that city did a really good job in fighting the fire and making the best of a terrible situation. So I just wanted to thank everybody. And please, if you see Mary, show her your support in any way you can. And I really wish the best for her. So that's my report. Next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report.
Mr. Mayor, the Finance Department is looking into alternative investments for our returns, and I will yield to our Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Ruby Walla, our Finance Director, she's going to elaborate on some of those items.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Ruby Walla, Finance Director. As Mr. Hamilton had stated, we're working together in seeking different investment options. As you know, we keep our pooled cash with LAIF, and their rates are very low, an average of, say, 0.3% that we're receiving. So I have talked with different investment companies as far as maybe the city moving money into CDs or anything like that. I've talked with the city of El Centro. They have a investment structure that they use, CalTrust, that I'm exploring as well in connection with the city treasurer. So we just wanted to update you on that we are exploring to see maybe what our investment options are. Our money's been in LAIF for forever and a day, and maybe just moving some of that money so we can get more of a return on our investments.
How much money are you talking about?
It varies with the CDs. There's a limit. There's a cap of $250,000 per bank, and that's just a standard amount with the local funds that we'd be using. And so it would be per bank. Say, examples would be if Goldman Sachs has a 5-year CD, right now the highest is 1.65%. The max we could put into that bank, no matter if it was a 5-year, 4-year, 3-year, or so forth, it'd only be $250,000. Then you move on to the next bank. So we couldn't put all our money into that.
Sure.
One. So it's just how we set it up. If we want to do, a couple 5 years, or test it out, structure it a 5-year, 4-year, or 3-year. We could do that. And this is just with CDs. I haven't really been able to put 100% effort into the CalTrust option, which City of El Centro, I know that's what they use. So that's another option that we're looking into.
What are the returns on CalTrust?
I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure how their structure is, if they have other investment options other than CDs. All I've been presented with are CDs, which range from a 5-year to a 1-year.
Well, thank you for the information.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may offer just one brief comment. This subject of our investments, our investment policy and our investment practice is part of our finance director's work plan for the year. So I hope we have more information to be coming to you in the next quarter to kind of make you aware of our progress, and obviously consult with our treasurer and his professional insight into the subject as well.
Appreciate that. Next item on the agenda is the city manager report.
I just have 2 quick items. The first is to make you aware that yesterday, the jurisdictions that are looking at potential relinquishment of Highway 86 within their particular boundaries met together with District 11 staff and ICTC staff. Some draft legislation was distributed. This legislation would be the necessary body of work to begin future discussions and negotiations about an exchange for the relinquishment of the right-of-way, whether it be returning the roadway to a particular standard or reaching a given cash settlement. So the language is out for circulation and comment. I will be sending to all of you a courtesy copy of that, and if you have any comments that you'd like to share, we have a 2-week window in which to provide those red lines. And if the city has any major reservations, this is the time to state it. As you may recall, in July, the council did take action to be open to a dialogue with no commitment about the actual relinquishment. So this piece of legislation is necessary for all the jurisdictions to sign on to. But we want to make sure that the language that's presented is language that we can live with. And it takes in cities of Imperial, Brawley, El Centro, and the county. So all those folks were present yesterday, and I was there along with our Public Works Director. So more information coming to you on that front. The other item I just wanted to briefly make you aware of, and I do apologize and regret that it did not come to my attention earlier, is I came across an item in my inbox this week relative to a policy on the books in the city for out-of-state travel or travel greater than 500 miles. It's my understanding that in 2008, the council took action to require approval for that kind of travel. Apparently, a particular travel item slipped through the cracks and got through to finance before the approval was granted. It involves a cross-country travel, but is covered almost entirely by the State Library Association. So this is a trip that is planned for late September, in other words, next week. The city's burden is approximately $250 anticipated for the entire travel cost, and it's for our Assistant Library Director, Susan Manger, to travel to that conference. I will be bringing the item and all of its backup to you at the next regular council agenda, but I wanted to make you aware that I hope I could move forward with your blessing for her out-of-state travel, given that it's not a large dollar item. And
Going on the Lambs bus, or is that?
it's on a plane, but the travel's actually paid for. So we're paying for basically food items, and I have the backup here if you'd like to see it tonight. But it's basically the per diem for meals, and it's travel that spans 9:26 to 9:30.
Need a motion for that?
So I just wanted to brief you so that you're not surprised that it's coming after the fact.
Okay.
And
Surprised with the 40,000.
okay. And then preview coming attractions. First meeting in October, I am anticipating 2 items to be prepared for your review and comment. Those are specific elements of the roadway improvements contemplated for the Florentine Estates project, and also an item for your consideration regarding Five Crowns expansion of their site at the southerly termination of 9th Street. So I'll be forwarding information to all of you, and if you have any questions between now and the 2nd of October, happy to answer those. And that's it.
Next item on the agenda is the city attorney's report.
I have nothing to report, Mr.
Nothing to
Mayor.
report. No city clerk? Thank you. Next item is a closed session. We will take the 5-minute recess and come back into closed session. Thank you all very much for coming out.